check that out. Apologize about that. And check out all that I have to offer there on my website. So, what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm sorry about all that. What I'm going to be talking about today is the essentials of strength training. So, there's a lot of different things that I'm going to be going over today, and I'm going to dive into pretty deep concepts as it relates to strength training. I do want to go over a bunch of different things, such as form and technique, as well as going over some of the basic principles that come with strength training. So, we're going to dive deep pretty much on everything as it relates to strength training today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Again, I am using a different format with how I'm doing my presentations. So, it is going to take me a little bit to get adjusted to this new change here. Again, I'm constantly trying to, add new additions to everything that I have to offer. So, I hope that you find this clear and concise on everything that I show you today and explain to you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with talking about today's topic, which is going over basically the essentials of strength training. So, the introduction to strength training here is exercise is focused on improving muscular strength and endurance. That's primarily what strength training is focused on. So, some of the concepts to keep in mind is that it includes increasing muscle mass and strength, enhancing metabolic rate, as well as improving bone density, boosting overall physical performance, and reducing the risk of chronic diseases. So, that is basically, in a nutshell, the basic introduction of what strength training is focused on. So, there's a few principles that you need to keep in mind when it comes to the basics of strength training. And these are three key concepts that you need to, be aware of, especially if your goal is primarily focused on muscle gain. These are very important to be aware of. So the first point here is progressive overload. And this is a topic that I've talked about many times over, but it's an essential topic to really grasp, especially if you're wanting to gain strength and you're wanting to build muscle at the same time. So basically what progressive overload is gradually increasing the stress placed on the body during exercise to stimulate muscle growth and strength gains. So this can be achieved by increasing the weight lifted, the number of repetitions, the number of sets, or by decreasing rest periods between sets. So a lot of people usually associate progressive overload with increasing basically the weight, gradually increasing weight, whereas progressive overload can work in a lot of different ways. It can be, increasing that number of reps that you normally perform, even if you're lifting the same amount of weight. Gradually increasing those reps is still considered a form of progressive overload. Same can be said with the amount of sets that you perform. It's a gradual increase of, reaching, getting stronger and gaining more muscle. It's a gradual progress. So just keep in mind that progressive overload is not necessarily all about weight, but it is about, that gradual progression and allowing your muscles to adapt to the stimulus you're giving them. Specificity is another thing here that we need to keep in mind when it comes to the principles of strength training. So training should be relevant and appropriate to the sport or goals for which the individual is training. Focus on exercises that target the specific muscles or movements required for your goals. For example, a sprinter might focus on leg strength and explosive power, while a bodybuilder might focus on muscle hypertrophy for various muscle groups. So that's something that you need to keep in mind, is that of course you need to tailor, your specific workout plan specific to your desired goal or outcome. So, if you're somebody who's wanting to gain, more muscle mass in particular, then you're going to want to focus on more, weightlifting based exercise. Whereas if you're somebody who's focusing on wanting to gain, a little bit more performance, then you want to focus on, maybe doing a little bit more cardio, focusing on more explosive movements, more explosive exercises. Maybe you want to incorporate HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training. Anything of that sort. If you're focusing on performance, that's going to be a little bit different than if you're somebody who's focusing on muscle gain and strength gains. Another thing here to keep in mind is variation. And I'm going to expand upon this topic as well, because this does kind of relate to the program that I offer to my clients. So variation is basically changing workout routines and exercises to prevent plateaus and keep the body challenged. Periodically alter your exercise selection, the number of sets and reps, the weight used in the workouts to keep workouts fresh and continue making progress. This is something that I do for my clients when I'm building out their workouts. This is another part too of a systematic approach to strength training as well, because when it comes to, you know, doing a strength training routine, you do need to constantly challenge your muscles and allow them to, not fully adapt to the workouts, but, gradually add a progression and a sense of, activation to those muscles going through those workouts. So you do need to not only periodically, change up your workouts just to make them feel fresh, but also in order to, allow your body to adapt to new sort of challenges. This is another thing, it goes into the same vein as progressive overload and variation. They're very similar in a sense, to where progressive overload, we're gradually changing something. Same thing with variation. You're making a little bit of changes. It's sort of in that same concept. So you just want to periodically, usually the way that I do it for my clients is just every 4 weeks, their plan usually changes. So depending on their particular goals, I put them in a specific phase of workouts. And it's pretty much it's basically known as periodization, where you have, as far as my clients, they go through a specific amount of weeks in a specific phase of workouts, and then they'll transition to another sort of phase. So that's basically how I structure my plan. And it is all based on, scientific principles and, my certification. So that's the way that I, structure my specific training plan. But just keep these principles in mind. Again, progressive overload, specificity, and variation. So the next point here is the different types of strength training. So there's a ton of different variations of workouts that you can try when it relates to strength training in different modalities. So I'm not going to completely go over every complete type of strength training, but I'm going to, go over as many different types that you guys may not be aware of or that you may be aware of. So free weights is the first one. These can include dumbbells, barbells, and kettlebells. So dumbbells are versatile tools that allow for a wide range of motion in exercises. Barbells are ideal for compound movements like squats, deadlifts, and bench presses. Kettlebells are excellent for dynamic exercises that improve functional strength. Machines. So there's different variations of different machines. You've got resistance-based machines, which provide guided motion, making them great for beginners. So if you go to the gym, you'll see machines that target a specific muscle. Like, for example, you've got specific like preacher curl machines, or you've got tricep extension machines. Those are known as resistance-based machines. I usually call them strength machines. You can call them various different things, but they are known as resistance machines. But what you're going to notice with those is those have a specific guided motion, and you're focusing on targeting a specific muscle in those machines. Cable machines allow for versatile and adjustable resistance suitable for various exercises. So cable machines are a little bit different, whereas they allow you a little bit more range of motion versus resistance machines. So keep that in mind. Some more types of strength training can include bodyweight exercises and resistance bands. These are strength training methods that don't really require, excessive equipment, basically. So bodyweight exercises use the weight of your own body to provide resistance against gravity. They don't require additional equipment beyond your body and a flat surface. Resistance bands or elastic bands are used to provide resistance during exercises. They come in various strengths and lengths and can be used to target specific muscles. Um, if you're somebody who's just starting out with exercise, these methods can be great to get adjusted to. Like whenever I started with a lot of body weight based exercises. Again, like I've mentioned before, it took me a while to really get adjusted to the gym. So I used, methods that I was comfortable with using at the time. And this is a good starting point for anybody who is just getting into exercise. And then once you get adjusted to those types of strength training methods, you can gradually move into like free weights and machine based workouts. So the next point I want to talk about here is exercise technique and form. So I'm not going to dive extremely deep into these particular, points when it comes to exercise technique and form, but I do really want to explain a little bit about why these are important and explain some of the basic principles that you need to follow when it comes to your exercises. So, breathing is the first one. So, when you're doing an exercise, you want to inhale during the eccentric phase. So, you want to breathe in while you're lowering the weight. And then you want to exhale during the concentric phase. You want to breathe out while lifting or pushing the weight. So, basically, the eccentric and concentric phases are particular movements in the workout. So, again, the eccentric phase is you want to, breathe in while you're lowering that weight, whatever particular exercise you're doing, and then exhale when you're going into the concentric phase, which is breathing out while lifting or pushing the weight. Common form mistakes to avoid: make sure that you don't arch your back during your lifts, which can lead to lower back injury. Make sure your knees are not caving inward. This can increase the risk of knee injuries. Overextending your joints may cause strain or discomfort, so keep those points in mind as well. More on exercise technique and form. So, body alignment is another thing to keep in mind. These are really the most important and essential points to be aware of out of any of the points, that you could follow. This is the really basic points to always be aware of when it comes to form is maintaining a neutral spine and engaging your core. So, maintaining a neutral spine means to keep your back straight and avoiding excessive arching. You just want to make sure that your body is in proper alignment, basically. Engaging your core means to tighten your abdominal muscles to help support your spine. So, this is essential. And the reason why, a lot of times I'll talk about the core and how important it is to be aware of properly engaging the core because the core is a foundational movement. And, in the workout routines that I give my clients, I do always have a workout that targets the midsection. And the reason I always implement that in there is because the midsection is not just about, the abs. It's not just about, getting abs. It's also about helping to build, foundational movements, being able to perform other various movement patterns. So that's something else to keep in mind is that it's not just about um, just to build the core, build the abs. It's about to build strength in them and to be able to do other exercises more efficiently. So just keep those in mind. The really important points: maintain that neutral spine and engage the core. And this relates to pretty much any workout. Joint positioning: make sure you're hinging at the hips. For exercises like deadlifts, push your hips back while keeping your chest up. Knee alignment: ensure your knees track over your toes and don't cave inward. Again, it's all about alignment. Make sure that your body is properly aligned before you're doing that movement pattern. Get adjusted to the form first. Don't increase the weight until you're really adjusted to that particular form. So some basic strength training exercises and some examples you can try out can include bench presses, dumbbell rows, shoulder presses, squats, deadlifts, and lunges. I've done a ton of these exercises in various videos that I've posted on my Facebook page as well as my other social media platforms, so you can check those out. you have any questions about any of these particular exercises, I can explain them a little bit more and give you an idea on what you should focus on. But just know that these are some of the really, basic fundamental exercises when it comes to strength training. Before I move on to this, I do want to mention what they specifically target. So the bench press is primarily focused on targeting the chest, of course. Dumbbell rows primarily target your back or your lats. Shoulder press, of course, targets the shoulders and the deltoids. Squats, of course, will target your legs, which can include your quads, your hamstrings, as well as your glutes. Deadlifts primarily target your hamstrings and your glutes. Lunges can primarily target the quads, the hamstrings, as well as the calves. Um, so a lot of these are compound based. When you're focusing on particular exercises like bicep curls, tricep extensions, those are the more isolated focused exercises, whereas these are more compound, except for maybe the shoulder press. It is more isolated, but a majority of these exercises are more compound focused, meaning they target not only that specific muscle, but also multiple muscles at the same time. So, the last point that I want to make here before I end the live stream today is about injury prevention and safety. These are important points I always mention to my clients and I always, tell them that you really need to focus on these first and foremost when it comes to any exercise. So you want to make sure that you warm up properly. So when you're getting started with your exercise, make sure that you're, getting yourself ready for that workout that you're going to be performing that day. Warming up prepares your body for exercise by increasing blood flow to the muscles, improving flexibility, and reducing that risk of injury. Another thing, gradually increasing intensity, which this sort of goes into the same topic of progressive overload. So, sudden increases in weight, reps, or intensity can lead to overuse injuries or strain. So, make sure that you're focusing on getting adjusted to the weight you're lifting at this moment. Whatever you're lifting, get adjusted to that weight. Make sure that you really master that form, that you are fully able to activate that muscle each time you're doing that workout. And then when it comes time where you feel like you are, you can lift that muscle or, excuse me, do that workout effectively, then that's time when you can gradually increase that weight. Going back to progressive overload for 1 second, you don't necessarily have to increase in large increments when it comes to progressive overload. You can do 2.5 pounds. There's a lot of weights, like if you're doing a barbell, you can add small increments, those small, like 5 pound, 2.5 pound weights. Use those to gradually increase the intensity. You don't have to jump up to 10 pounds immediately. It's all about gradual progression. So keep that in mind. Prioritize recovery. This is another essential part. So your muscles need time to repair and grow after workouts, and adequate recovery can lead to overtraining and injuries. So one thing, if you're somebody who really likes to exercise and you have trouble with, rest, this is one thing you do need to prioritize. Um, because there are, I know there's a lot of people that don't see exercise as, it's you're not all about exercise. So this may not be an issue for everybody, but if you're somebody who's really adamant on exercise and you enjoy exercise, this is something that you really need to be aware of. Make sure that you're giving your body enough rest. Because if you do too much exercise, it can go against your specific goals and you're going to break down your muscles. You're going to go into that overtraining and you're going to, exhaust yourself. So you need to make sure that you're having a balance between your workouts and recovery. Again, I know that's not the same for everybody, but keep in mind if you're somebody who is like that, you do need to make sure that, you take the time to give your body enough rest. So just keep these points in mind when it comes to any exercise you're doing. Just make sure you warm up properly, gradually increase the intensity, and prioritize recovery, giving yourself enough rest. Nutrition can play a part in that as well, but I'm not really going to dive into that today. But just keep these points in mind when it comes to injury prevention and safety. Alrighty, guys, so that's all I have for you today. Um, I'm really excited to share some new content with you as I, make these changes to, my presentations and these live streams. I'm constantly trying to improve and make these a little bit, more dynamic, a little bit more effective to get the point across. So if you have any feedback, feel free to let me know. Again, my website is bponlinefitness.com. I'm going to put it back on screen here. And you can check out a ton of different information as it relates to online coaching. You can also find out information on joining my email list, ways to check out the live stream. I always post a live stream on my homepage, so you can check that out as well. You can also check out, okay, now you can see it. You can also check out any of my fitness blog posts that I put on there. And of course, that always stays updated, always, put a ton of different topics related to fitness, nutrition. Usually I post that every Friday, so you can check that out there as well. That's pretty much all I have for you guys today, of course. If you do have a question, feel free to let me know and reach out. You can send me a message here on Facebook or on any of the other social media platforms I'm on. And I do want to mention that, of course, I'll have another live stream coming up next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, as always, where I'm going to be discussing a little bit about balancing nutrition and the intensity, using, nutrition as a way to sort of leverage your workouts. So adjusting nutrition based on your specific exercises. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in the next week on the next live stream. I'll have that event posted pretty soon. But with all that being said, guys, thank you for taking the time to check this live stream out. And of course, I will see you guys next week in the next live stream. So thank you guys again for watching.